Hi, my name is Natalie, and I was molested since the age of 5. So when I was 5 years old, I remember one night just sitting in my room, and you can see from my room, the hallway directly to my parents' room and to the kitchen. So my dad one day came in, and he was telling me that him and my mom were fighting. So I was like, fighting? Mommy and me are fighting because, she won't let me see. And I was wondering, like, what does he mean, let her see? And then he said, see, down there. And I was like, down where? I was like, oh, in my head, I was like, oh, well, if mommy lets him see, then it's okay for me to let him see. So basically, I was like, okay. So then I was like, I'll show you. So I offered without knowing, that obviously it was not okay. So I let him see, and I don't remember if I was actually touching me at some point. I just remember him looking, and I remember his finger like going that direction. And not that long after that was happening, I heard my mom saying, husband, what are you doing? Where are you? He's like, oh, I'll be right there. I'm just saying goodnight to the kids. So he says goodnight to us, and then he goes, and that is the official beginning of just that consistently happening up until I was 15 or 16 years old. There were so many instances that I remember trying to hint at my mom that I was uncomfortable. And a lot of the times, like, I don't think that she not necessarily didn't understand, but that she was just like, oh, she was just feeling uncomfortable like this because of this, or just whatever reason that she thought it was uncomfortable. So another memory that I have was when we went to a water park. So I believe I was 13 years old at this time. We went to a water park. And prior to that, before we were leaving, my dad, he was excessively like spanking my, and it's normalized in a lot of Latino households from my understanding, and it wasn't comfortable for me because I knew what his intention was behind that. So I tried to tell my mom, like, Mom, he keeps spanking me. I'm a little older now. Like, can we stop? She's like, mija, it's not that serious. It's just a little spank. Just kind of being dismissive, which again led me to not telling her more and more. And then we had my sister, and I was afraid that my sister was gonna go through the same experience that I went through. And I literally told myself I would die before that would happen. So I remember at night, it's always at night that he would come in, and my sister, she started sleeping with me. And my brain was like, okay, there's two choices. Either I try to talk to my mom again, which in my brain at the time, I was like, that's not gonna happen. Or I just put myself before my sister, so he doesn't get to my sister. He only has access to me. So what I would do is I would put my sister all the way to the wall, and then I would be turning on the outside of her so that he only has access to me and not to her. And he would just come and pretty much touch me at night. And I would just do my best just to hold her and just pretend that it's not happening. And a lot of times, again, my mom would be like, Victor, what are you doing? Oh, I'm saying goodnight to the kids. So he'll finish what he's doing, and then he'll just go and leave. And it was just like that for many years. And my dad wasn't the only person that it happened with. I have a very weird memory of my cousin, like, attempting to do the same thing. So with my cousin, I believe I was about 8 years old, and him and his mom, my other cousin, they were all visiting, and we were all hanging out together. And I believe it was my room, and I had this beautiful Barbie house. It was a really big Barbie house. And so, I was playing behind the Barbie house, having the time of my life or whatever. My brother was on the bed, and my cousin, he just started like acting a little strange. And then he started showing me provocative dances. This is from what I was told from my family, that he was showing me provocative dances. But what I remember was that I started feeling uncomfortable, and I went and hid under the cupboard, thinking that he wasn't going to come get me. And then he followed me, obviously, to the bed. And I remember seeing him pull something out, down there. And I was scared. I was like, what do I do? So I kind of just like froze. And then I don't remember what happened, that I ended up being able to run off and go to my mom and just be there with my mom. And she was confused. She was like, what's wrong? Like, why are you acting this way? And it wasn't until after they left that I guess that I was telling my mom that I was showing her provocative dances, but I never told her about like me seeing what he had, like the male genital. And growing up, we never had like a talk about like intimacy and stuff like that. So when these things were happening to me, I didn't know what were the intentions again behind it. I just knew that, okay, my dad does this all the time. It's nothing new. I've had these experiences with these guys before. It's normal. So growing up, when I tried to have like boyfriends and stuff like that, I really didn't know how to act, I guess you could say. I came off, from what I've been told, I came off oftentimes as flirtatious, because that's just what I thought I was supposed to do. So I remember one night my dad came in again. I'm like, oh my God, this has to stop. I can't do this anymore. Like, I was going crazy. So that following night, my mom, she wanted us to go to the 99-cent store. I remember there was this plaza and the 99-cent store was there and all these other stores. And we were going to go get a drink from Bahama Bucks after that. So she goes inside and I'm like hyperventilating, freaking out. Like my chest is like, can't breathe, like, because I'm about to tell her. I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to tell her. Like, I need to tell her. I can't keep living like this until I leave here. I can't. So then my mom comes back inside and I tell her, like, my dad is touching me. And she's like, what did you say? I'm like, yeah, my dad is touching me. He's touching me. And she's like, are you serious? And I told her, I was like, yeah, he comes in at night and he touches me, and I try to like just talk, but I just start like having a full breakdown trying to tell her this because it's something that I've been holding on to for a long time. And she's like, why didn't you tell me before? And I was like, Mom, I couldn't. I couldn't. I was scared. She's like, what were you scared of? I always tell you can talk to me. You're supposed to come and talk to me like that. She would interact with me. I'm like, Mom, I was scared, but I'm telling you that he's touching me. So she's like, okay. And, we both start crying in the car. We're there for a few minutes and then we go back home. And when we get back home, obviously she confronts my dad and stuff like that. And I'm just like freaking out and, trying to get my brain together because I'm so like, it's something that I've been so conflicted about telling her about for years that I was just afraid and I was scared that I was going to rip my family apart because I didn't want my sister growing up like that. I was afraid more so for my sister. So then that following day, he wasn't there. And I was like, well, what happened? She's like, we kicked him out. He's going to be living separately from us and that's how it's going to be. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is nice. Like, I don't have to worry about not being able to sleep at night. I don't have to worry about something happening to my sister. For a while, I don't remember how long he was gone. I know it wasn't for very long. I think it was maybe like 2-3 months at most that he was gone. And she comes and tells me, she's like, Natalie, I have to ask you something. And I'm already scared. In my head, I'm like, okay, what is she going to ask me? Like, what does she want? So I'm like, okay, Mom, what's up? Because I was always that daughter that was like, yes, Mom, no, Mom, yes. They always looked at me as like that, I guess, the golden child, like when it comes to like listening to them and doing what they wanted from me, which is, I feel like a lot of the reason why my dad got away with what he did. So she's like, we can't afford to live in 2 separate places. So we either have him come back and live with us in this beautiful house, or we have to be in poverty and go live in a really small apartment with 1 bedroom, just you, your brother, and your sister, and me. So in my head, I'm thinking, I want my sister to have a good life. I want her to not live like how my brother and me lived when my parents were first starting, like having to share a little bathroom together. And, I didn't want that for my sister. I wanted her to actually have like a beautiful house where she can run wherever she wanted to. She can just have good memories in the house, because I feel like that's something really important growing up, having good memories in a beautiful home, which I didn't get to have, but that's something that I wanted for my sister. So obviously I went with in my head, the logical choice, like, you know what? Yeah, just have him come back and we'll just, I guess, figure something out. So, my dad comes back and it's super unsettling, like in the house. Like the house is super uncomfortable. Obviously my mom has like a super eyeball on him, like he's really like not really allowed to go to our rooms. Like I can have my door closed now, which is nice. The bathrooms, they have to be locked. At that time, everything was like lock and key, with my dad. And my brother, I don't know if at any point he was like curious or was like trying to see like, what's going on here, But as far as I know to this day, he does not know. And neither does my sister. So one day, it's my dad and me that has to go pick up my sister because my mom, she starts working. So obviously it's like really uncomfortable. And he just starts asking me stuff, and I don't remember the full extent of the details of which he asked. But I just remember him saying that he was sorry. And at the moment I told him it's okay. But I didn't know how unsettled I was going to be for the rest of my life up till this day. Hopefully in the far future, I'll find some type of content in my heart. But right now, I don't know, it affects my day-to-day life. So after that, I got into really, really mentally abusive, emotionally abusive, and physically abusive relationships. There was an ex that I was with that I would go with him, and we were homeless a couple of times because in my head, I'm just supposed to do everything that he asked me to do because that's how I grew up. You know, I'm just supposed to give my body, my heart, everything. And he was my first love. You know, I gave what I thought was my, what I had left of my virginity to him. And, I was just a ride or die. But then I met my oldest son's biological father through him. And, obviously he saw that we were homeless and stuff. So he was like, he pulled me aside one night and was like, I'll make you a deal. And I was like, okay, what's the deal? He's like, if you become my mistress, I will give you a car, I'll give you a place to live, and, this and that. And mind you, this gentleman, he owned like 3 companies, all in one of which he can provide the car. So in my head, I was like, well, I'm used to just giving away my body, so he can have that, but my heart is going to go to my boyfriend at the time. And, I didn't think that was wrong. I was just so used to like my body just people doing whatever they wanted to it that I didn't see no significance in it. So I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And that very next day, he gave me the car. He found us a place to stay. Like, he kept his word. And he even went and took me to get like a little makeover. Like, he got me a haircut and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. And he's like, all right, now it's time to pay up. I remember exactly that he said it like that. He was like, it's time to pay up. And I was like, what do you mean? I don't have money, obviously. And he's like, no, let's go to my car. So he takes me to the car and he's like, take off your pants. In my head, I'm like, that's what you mean. So, I do that. I just like take off my pants and I just lay there and I just start reliving like bad things, like from when my dad was like touching me and stuff. And this gentleman, he was older. He was like I think he was older than my dad. So I was like, okay, I guess this is how it's just gonna be, like for my life, for the rest of my life. I'm always gonna have to give my body to somebody. I'm always gonna have to please somebody, sexually, no matter what it takes. So after that, he became very possessive of me, even around my boyfriend at the time, which was crazy to me. I was like, excuse me, sir, that's my boyfriend. Again, I didn't think anything wrong of it for some reason. That's just how my brain worked. I was like, he just has my body. He has nothing more. My body has no value. He would always have me go meet with him and do stuff in exchange for other stuff, like for money or for keeping the car or whatever, just to maintain our life. But at the process of him doing that, he was putting things into my head like, oh, your boyfriend's cheating on you, right? And I was like, no, he's not. I have faith in my boyfriend. Well, he was right, but he did it for bad intentions. So my boyfriend, he was cheating on me with multiple people. And one day I just had enough. I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go do my thing. And, I hope you die or something. I don't remember exactly what I said to him. That I was like, all right, this is it. Whatever. Goodbye. So then I become my son's biological father's full girlfriend. We'll call him David. So I was David's official girlfriend, and all of his sons, he had a lot of kids. All his sons knew it. All of his baby mamas knew it. Everyone knew. Everybody hated me. Everybody did not like me because I got spoiled. All right. I will say one thing. He's a terrible person, but when he has a mistress or a girlfriend, he will spoil them. So he let me get whatever car I want, like to ride. He'll have me have the business card. It was good. And I had a really bad, evil plan to try to take over everything because he was teaching me all of the things that I needed to know to take over. So I was like, okay, all I gotta do is just the legal stuff, put my name somewhere in there, and then I can own all the businesses and manage all the businesses. And that didn't end up happening because he started getting a little bit more physical, and obviously I didn't like that. I didn't want to relive the stuff that my that my family saw all around us. And because in a Hispanic household, there's always some kind of toxicity somewhere for some reason. So one day I start getting like just so depressed, and then I find out that I'm pregnant. I'm like, oh my God, no, and I hated myself after I found out. And I know it wasn't the baby's fault, but I hated myself. I just wanted to just jump off a bridge. And so one day, I'm in a really nice apartment now, like I upgraded. David, he goes, we need to talk. Because we were fighting a couple of days before that. He's like, we need to talk. And I'm like, David, I don't want to talk. I just want to be left alone, David. I'm not in the mood. I'm not going to give you any sex. Just leave me alone, David. And David said, well, we need to talk. So you either come with me or I'm going to bring you with me. And by this time, I believe I'm like late 4 months pregnant. And he tries to drag me out the bed. And my brother, he's there and he watches from the hallway what he's doing, trying to drag me off the bed. And he eventually pulled me off the bed and I fell to the floor. But after that, he kind of just gave up and was like, all right, I'm leaving, and I don't remember what he said. After that, he just left and I was just there crying. My brother is just standing there, just looking over me. And I'm like, you're really going to let this happen to me? Okay. Which I understand, because there was some things that happened to him as well that I wasn't able to do anything about. But like, he knows that I was pregnant with his nephew. And he just stood there like, oh, you're on your own. So then that night, I was just going crazy, just like having a full-blown meltdown, like thinking of all the ways that I could hurt myself. And I'm like, you know what? I can't do this. Like I have a human in my body. So that following morning, I take the next available car that I have and I drive myself to the ER. It was actually the same hospital that I had my son in. And I go and I'm like, I'm about to kill myself and I'm pregnant. I need help. So they take me in and, they have me settled in the behavioral health unit. And that, I would say, was one of the biggest life-changing experiences, because then David tried to contact my mom, like, hey, have you seen Natalie? And my mom was like, well, you should know where she's at. You should know. Why are you asking me? What happened to her? Like very hostile towards him. And so he explains to her, like, we got in a fight, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, that's what you get. Like basically just being very hostile and just not wanting, because she told me this, but I don't remember exactly what those last words were. And so that's when she finds out that I'm in the mental hospital, also through him. And one day David comes and visits me in the hospital. And every time he had came and visited, there was always something that happens. I'm always end up crying, or I always end up yelling, like, get out, or there's just always something that happens, And there was one day where he came in with my brother and my brother's girlfriend at the time, who was a prostitute. And I had found out that they were using my funds and my watch. I had a smartwatch at the time, and they were using it when I only had permitted them to use it once, and not for his girlfriend, for him to get food. And so I go off on him. I go off on my brother. I'm like, why are you using my stuff? I told you to only use it one time, and you're taking advantage of me being in here and using it. And so he's just getting mad and just, like huffing and puffing. And the girlfriend, she tries to say something. I'm like, excuse my language, but I'm like, shut up. Like, don't even talk to me. Like, you're just over here just for my brother, just to use our money, out of here with that. And so I go off on her and I go off on him, and eventually my brother, he gets up and just storms out. All the while, David is sitting there. He's just sitting there and is just watching everything, like. And as soon as that's over, he's like, so let's talk about work. And I'm like, excuse me? You think I'm in the mental capacity to talk about work after I just got in an argument with my brother? I don't think so. So I go off on him. I'm like, this is all you ever come to me for? You come for me for sex or for work or for whatever, and I'm trying to recover here. Like, I'm trying to get my life together, and you're just over here bringing this to me. I'm supposed to not have to worry about anything outside right now, just about me. And he's like, well, I'm trying to understand. I have a brother in the mental hospital. I was like, apparently you don't understand, So eventually he leaves, and the nurses, after I have my little breakdown after he leaves, they come to me and they're like, we're really sorry that you're going through this. We want to recommend that you have a no info, no publication, so that you only have certain people come in here, and whoever else that tries to see you, we make them leave. And I just sat there like thinking like, this is my opportunity to shut him completely out of my life, or at the time, to shut him completely out of my life. I'm going to do this. So I do it. I signed the paper saying only my mom could come in and my sister, but my sister's not old enough to go in. And so after that, I try to get a job at this smaller Hispanic grocery store. And I'm thinking, okay, you know what, David is not going to be in my life. I might as well try to work at least or do something, because no one's gonna pay for me now. I still have a lot of healing left to do. I know it's not going to be an overnight thing. I know it's going to come and go like waves. But right now, I'm doing my best to just be happy. I have 3 beautiful babies now with my husband, and he takes such good care of me. Like, nobody's perfect, so everyone has their flaws, but he does take really good care of me, and he's always supported me through my mental breakdowns. He's always just done everything that he could for me to heal. He's helped me like go to therapy and do my appointments. Yeah, so he does his best to help me get to therapy and stuff like that. And he knows that like all the things that I went through, like my PTSD, my anxiety and depression, and all of it is gonna affect like parts of our relationship. And he always tells me like no matter what, that he's gonna be there for me. Like, we're stuck together whether I like it or not. And that's something that I would say I'm grateful for, because he showed me what an actual healthy relationship could look like, and that it is possible, and that not everything is just sex. Like, because I used it again a lot as a coping method, and he picked up on it right away. He's like, if you're going through stuff, do not come for me, for that. Like, come to talk to me. Don't come to me for just the physical part. I'm here for you mentally and emotionally. I'm here. Just because I don't understand everything doesn't mean that I can't help you. And he takes such good care of the kids. And that's one thing that I would say I'm so grateful for in my life, is that he is helping me heal